Welcome back to Boomer's Playground. And this is going to be the fourth and probably the final iteration of this. And there's two main things that we need to resolve. And the first one is going to be what happens if we click the space button or whatever button you chose before the green light is illuminated. And also, like we've finished this quote unquote race, but if I hit start race, it doesn't reset itself. So those are the two main things. And I'd also like to add like a paragraph tag. So right now, we're just alerting it, which is fine. Like that, but I would prefer to take this and maybe put it in like a P tag and maybe print it out to the screen and maybe even come up with some arbitrary, times that maybe the whole background will turn different colors or maybe a different image or something stupid like that. But the first thing I want to do is let's get this red happening. And so let's see what happens if you click on, all right, so see I clicked the space bar before the green light was illuminated. And you'll see it still kind of works. We get you took nan or not a number seconds to react. And so let's go into the code and let's see why that is. So what's happening here is we have our time when green is lit. And so, we click start. This runs, we create our random time from 0 to 3 seconds. And then after that allotted time, we illuminate the yellow light, and then we start the green timer. And then we come in here, we create our random time, and then we wait again. Now, what happens is if we click on the space key, which the space key is completely independent of the other two functions. We can press the space key anytime we want, even without hitting, the start game, right? So we can just keep on doing this. And because the green has eventually illuminated, we can just keep on doing this. It'll keep on being longer and longer and longer. So this chunk of code down here does not, it does care, but we can do it even without these things. So what I would like to do is I shouldn't say that. So what happens then is, let's say we get 3 seconds for this green timer. So we're waiting 3 seconds. If we click the space button before we have a time when green is lit, we're gonna come down here still. This is gonna run, and we're gonna have whatever our actual time is, I actually don't think either of these will be a number. But what ends up happening is one or both of these will not be a number. So this subtraction will not be a number. And so when we try and divide it by 1,000, you can't divide not a number by anything because as it's named, it's just not a number. So let's actually see what we get. I actually don't know. Time when green is lit and reaction time. All right. Okay, so there we got 2 times. I should have done it before the green was there. And actually, let's just refresh it. Okay, cool. So what you'll see here is we get undefined and reaction time. We still get something because, again, all we're using is date.now. And so date.now will always give us something. But because this set timeout hasn't run yet, or the function inside of it has not executed, we don't have a time when green is lit. And so you'll see we can do let's just do, we do that. And so A is this random time. And then let's do undefined divided by A. And you'll see we get not a number. And let's set that to something else. And then we can do B. And so we're getting not a number. So that's why we're seeing this NaN, not a number. It's a type in JavaScript. I would suggest you go over the section in whatever course you're taking about that. It's pretty straightforward, but does have a couple gotchas, but I'm not going to be able to explain those well enough. I would stick to the book or course that you are currently taking. So I think this is a pretty easy fix here. So we know that if we click it before we have this time when green is lit, we know that's bad. And we know we want to illuminate the red. And what actually, and we might do a final video where we kind of clean this up, because there are a couple areas that this app is small enough that nothing will ever become of it. But I think they're good practices to have nonetheless. So, all right. Okay, so we come in here. So if we hit key code, and what we can do is we can do if the key code is space, and then we can come down here and we could also check if time when green is lit, and then we can do this. And so this will, what'll happen is when we hit the space bar, this if will be true, or when we hit any key, this add event listener will fire. If it's the space bar, this will be true. If we have a time for time when green is lit, which we won't have a time until the green circle is actually lit, check in here. So if this is not true, we could just do style dot red circle dot style dot opacity equals 1, and we should see. Yeah, so I didn't even hit the start button, but yeah, I hit the space bar, and you'll see now we don't, and unfortunately nothing here happens. There's a lot of edge cases we could account for, but let's just assume the person's going to do it right. So we do start, and we do that, and then we actually we'll do that, and then let's alert them, and we'll say, you went before the green light was illuminated. And you'll see that. And I wanted to add that because before the red light illuminated, but the alert, there was no alert because we didn't really have one. And then we'll see here, and then green will eventually, yeah. And so that will happen still. And so that's kind of a weird little edge case that we can kind of work on. And maybe that'll be part of the cleaning it up in the video after this. Okay, cool. So we have this. But one thing that we can do, well, actually that's, yeah. So if it's key code, so we could do and time when this, and then we could just do like another else here. But then what's going to happen is any key that you press will make the else command run, because we're checking if it's key code. So I normally don't like to, if you have a check here and then you have another if check immediately, a lot of times I like to put these in the same line. But in this case, because we're looking for a specific key to be pressed, I think this might be the best route. All right, so okay, cool. So we're kind of handling the red now. So you left before the green light was illuminated. Illuminated. All right, so what would be the next one? So the next one will be if we start button, add event listener. All right. And so this is where us having like kind of all these global variables up here is kind of going to mess with us a little bit. So a lot of times what I like to do is I like to just have like a game object. And so what I'll do is I'll just do like a game. Doesn't take anything. And then pretty much the game object controls everything. And then this does make it a lot easier to kind of reset like what we're talking about now. And so like before every game, what we can do is we can come in here. And this would be another time when drawing all the JavaScript or drawing all the HTML with your JavaScript would be kind of a benefit. But nonetheless, the first thing we can do is before every time we call game, let's do this, and we'll do, I'm going to create is game playing. We're going to start it as false. The reason I'm doing this is I don't want us to be able to click the start button and just have it like run a bunch of times and kind of get messed up. So let's do this. So const is game playing, and we can come down in here, and when we click, we can run the game function, and then we can even do this is if is game if if not is game playing, then let's run this. And so what this is saying is hey, if is game playing is false. So if we would have just put it without the bang or the exclamation point in front of it, we're saying if is game playing is a truthy value. And now we are using false up here, and we'll use true as well. But the one thing you have to consider when you're doing something like this, where you're saying, hey, if it's a truthy value, there are many, many truthy values that aren't just true. Any positive number, and actually, I think any number besides 0 is considered truthy. Yeah, so if -1, console log here. So I think the only time, I think 0. Yeah, okay, so 0 is the only non-truthy number. So a negative number is truthy, a positive number is truthy. Any non-empty string is going to be truthy. One thing that gets a lot of people is even an empty array is truthy, which is kind of weird, right? You'd think like, oh, well, there's nothing in it, right? But it's a thing, and that'll be the same with like an object. Good. And then we'll do console.log error. Yeah, so you see an empty array is, which is kind of weird. And then we have like an empty object is good. So there are many, many truthy values, more so than just the true Boolean value. So a lot of times, and even outside of this, a lot of times if you have one thing that could break the project, or maybe, I don't want to say break, but let's say you want to do something if one thing isn't true, but a bunch of other things are true, using this not operator technically is quicker because it checks that first. But so take that for what it's worth. I'm going to add that there so we don't have a bunch of games stacked up on the heap or on the stack. I don't know which one they go to. But then we got to change this a teeny tiny bit. So we go in here, we do this, we play game, and then just right out of the bat, I'm just going to do man. Well, I guess we could just run it 3 times. All right. Here we're just setting the circles back to their default value, and then we're good there. I was trying to think of some way for us to like maybe do this in a slicker way, but for such little code like this, there's not a real huge benefit now. But again, I do now think I'm going to do a 5th video, and we're going to kind of clean this up a little more than it already is. And just kind of some things that I like to do, not to say that that's what everybody should do, but they're just things I've picked up over the 4 years that I've been professionally developing. All right, so we come in here. These are still fine. Everything's good there. All right, and then here's what we're going to want to do is, if one of these 2 things happens, we want to be able to restart the game, right? So right now, let's see if this works. It still should. Oh, what do we got here? Start button is not defined. Oh, yep, okay. All right, so we need to have the start button outside of the game because what we were doing, or what I was doing is, I was adding an event listener to something that hadn't been called yet because it was like kind of a weird edge case, right? I had it in here, but for start button to be available, game had to be called, but game can't be called unless we click on start button. So I was like, yeah, I just needed to move this out. And then we should be fine. And we'll run here. Good, just the favicon. All right, and then that was super duper fast. That's not right. Okay, what is going on here? All right, what's going on? Okay, so come in here. If not is game playing, which it's false at the beginning, we're going to run game. We're going to come into game, and then all of these guys. Oh, you know what? I think it's because these are inside of another function. When we call that outer function, it also runs every function inside. So let's just do a couple console logs to see if that's true or not. Oh, actually, maybe it's this. Maybe it's because we have this key down in there, and maybe that ran right away. Okay. Oh, crap. Okay. Yep, you guys were probably yelling at me. You guys probably saw that. It's because I had 2 instead of 0.2. All right, so let's try this again. And so I don't know if you guys noticed that. I put a console log here, console log there, because I thought these were running. We looked. I didn't see any console logs, so now I'm just like, okay, weird. That wasn't the reason, and I just worked my way up, and I saw my mistake right there. And that's another one of those reasons why I like to incrementally test things. It may seem kind of pedantic, and it may seem like, wow, you're, every little step. But that's just what works for me. I have a couple people at work that they can just envision this stuff from start to finish. I'm not that person. I'm not a developer by gift. I'm a developer by hard work. Yeah. My mind just doesn't think that way. Okay. So that should be good. And let's check it. Okay. And I already know what's going on here. So before, when we clicked this, we were running the start yellow timer. But now all we're doing is just running this game, but nothing inside of it is running. So what we can do is, at the end of the function, this way we make sure everything else has kind of been instantiated. We can just run start yellow timer, and then this should work. Or maybe not. Start yellow timer. Okay. Oh, what the heck? There we go. Okay, cool. So it's just running forever, but you'll see every time I hit space, we get time when green is lit, and I already know what the problem with that is once again, we have this time when green is lit inside of this game function, but we're trying to get access to it here outside of that game function in this event listener for the document. So, and these are things, do not think, when you see me with this and I'm like, oh, I know what the problem is, don't be like, oh my gosh, he's so smart. This is just because I've made these mistakes thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times. You will as well. This is also why I'm so, I don't want to say strict, but I push people to start building projects so soon. We would have never gotten that error if this was a paid video course, right? Like, I would have cleaned that up, or the person doing the video would have cleaned that up, which is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But these are the things that really kind of teach you that core language. All right, so let's check this out. We're good. Okay, and so it looks like we're... Okay, cool, we're working there. Let's see if by pressing the start button, if we start fresh again. Okay, awesome, and we do. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's jump early. Ooh, okay. So now we have another problem. And again, I know what the issue is, but this is, again, because I've made this mistake 1 billion times. So I refresh it, and I hit it early, and you're like, whoa, dude, that should not be right. Well, what's happening is when we click on the space button, we get this reaction time here, and then where's the... Oh, here. So time when green is lit gets run anytime the green timer is lit, like it says. But when we refresh, or I shouldn't say refresh, but when we start a new game, that value is still the old value here. So so let's do this. So let's console.log it. All right, so I'm going to refresh the page, and at the beginning, this time when green is lit is going to be undefined. And I'm going to press spacebar, and red circle is not defined. Okay. So these guys are going to have to come up here, which is still fine. This will still work as we kind of expected. Okay, cool. You left before the green light was illuminated, so we'll see... We'll just do red here so we can see time when green is lit. And then here we'll do green, just so we know where these logs are at. All right. So refresh. So we get undefined as expected. So now let's start it. All right, and then we get... Oh my gosh. Oh, list. Time when green is lit. All right, try it again. All right, so undefined because this has never been run before. We're running it the first time. It runs through, awesome. And we got another freaking thing. Which is fine, but let's do, okay. Where was that one? Line 28. Oh, time when green is lit. All right. Okay. Start fresh. All right. Undefined because this has technically never run because we refreshed the page. So now we're going to run it. And we get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this, and I'm going to hit the space button before we get back to this green is lit and where it reassigns this value. So we're going to jump down here, and we're going to see what it is. So fresh. All right. And so you'll see we get this timer right here, or actually right there. But the reasoning is, as long as the game has run one time and we've let it get to green, this will have ran, setting the time when green is lit up here. And then if we restart the game, we come all the way back up, but time when green is lit has not been redefined because we're calling the game function, which is all of this in here, which has nothing to do with setting and resetting time when green is lit. So what I'll do is we'll just like we did with the opacity here, we'll just set it, and time when green is lit equals undefined. And I'm only doing undefined because, again, if we go too early, we want to yell at them and say, hey, you went before the light was green. So let's see where we're at here. Okay, 24 minutes. Okay, so the last thing I want to do, and I actually will challenge you guys all to, instead of alerting the message, I would like you guys to print it down here, and then I will do just like a super quick video where that's all we do. And then actually, you know what? Yeah, no, screw it. All right, so let's do this. We'll do let message, and we'll just set it to nothing. And then just again up here, we'll just do message, and it will just be an empty string every time we start the game. And then let's see, I think we have the container that we can grab. And actually we'll want to do it in here. So what I'm doing now is I'm grabbing the container that is wrapping all of our game. That way we can append to it. Document query selector. We know we have the container. And then I'm setting this message, which is nothing. And then each iteration of the game, we're going to set it back to nothing. And then down here, what we can do is we can just do, you know, we'll do message equals. And actually, we don't. Yeah, let's do that. Message is going to work because that way, this way it won't continue to add on top of the one that's down there. And maybe that's something we want to do. But for now, I don't think that is. So for me, I'm just going to do this. We'll do message. You took time spent seconds to react. And then what we can do is we can do container.append. And then we'll do this message, which actually that was... crap. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so we may not need this message. Never mind. The reason we're not going to need this message is if we create a new... so this will still be our message. And then we'll just do this. We'll do document.create element. And we'll grab a p tag. And then here we can do p.inner text will equal message, and then we can append message. This should, yeah, I think this might still add on, but that's all right. Maybe there will be a fifth video that has a little more code in it. But again, we just do the same thing here. We'll just do, if that's the case, we'll do that, and we'll say you took off, let's see, we'll delete to, no, delete to that. You took off before the green light was illuminated. Blah, blah, blah. And we should be good there. And let's see what happens. All right, so we get that. Container's not defined. Oh, once again, because I did it in here. So again, I did the container inside of the game object, but I was trying to append to it before the game object had ever been run. So let's try this again. Bam, bam. All right, that worked. You took time spent. So, okay, so that isn't what we wanted. Oh, it's because you gotta do string literals properly. All right. Okay, cool. And you'll see I got 0.3 seconds to react. And, oh, and so yeah, so you'll see they're kind of running on top of each other. That's a whole another thing that we can worry about, but let's make sure doing it early. Yep, you took off before the green light was illuminated. So I'll leave that there. I don't know if you guys can tell, we have a little bit of weirdness with the game running over and over and over again. We will look into that in the next video, and maybe we'll clean some of this stuff up, and I'll show you about how we want to clear the timeouts and stuff like that. So hope you guys learned something today. This one ran a little longer than usual. We got a pretty cool little app working right now. I mean, the previous one was fine as well. We just kind of refactored a little bit and fixed a couple weird bugs. But if you guys have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.